So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have a jam-packed agenda for you this afternoon, which we hope you'll find useful and inspire you to create engaging and impactful lesson plans, highlighting the importance of climate action in your schools. We'll also be covering a brief overview of climate action plans, what these are, why they're important, and how they align with the DfE sustainability strategy. But firstly, I'd like to introduce you to our speakers today. We've got Michelle Parks and Ed Moore. So Michelle is Head of Growth and Impact at Earth Cubs, which we'll hear more about shortly. She's responsible for forging strategic partnerships and developing initiatives that educate and also lead to tangible environmental actions. She's passionate about blending education with entertainment and believes that the power of positive storytelling to cultivate and generate informed, proactive global citizens. And Ed is an award-winning environmentalist and a former primary school teacher with over a decade of experience leading sustainability in education. He's guided schools to achieve multiple national and international eco awards and was named one of the 500 coronation champions for his environmental work, as well as Teacher of the Year by the Foundation for Environmental Education. He's been very busy. Thank you both for joining today, and I'll hand over to you, Michelle, to start us off.
Thank you so much. And I am just going to share my screen so that you can get, let me just make sure it's working. Sorry, technical issues already. There we go. Hopefully you can see that okay.
Yes, got it.
Perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michelle, Head of Growth and Impact at Earth Cubs. Very proud to work for such an incredible and amazing startup. So I want to tell you a little bit about the journey of where we've come from, some of the resources that we've got, and sort of talk you through some of our incredible videos. Earth Cubs was created to fill, I guess, a bit of a gap in teaching resources to try and bring climate and sustainability learning into the classroom in a really fun and impactful way. I have a story myself of when my youngest was about 5 years old. He came home from school, really sad, actually in tears, because he'd watched in the classroom a video of a burnt out rainforest in, I think, Indonesia, and a young orangutan clinging onto the top of the tree with a burnt out palm of forest underneath him. Obviously, quite a devastating thing for a young child, especially about 5 or 6 years old, to watch. And I think what really struck me from that was the powerlessness that he felt around it. He was saying, I don't know what to do to help. They're such a long way away. What impact can I have when I'm this tiny? I'm probably giving him slightly more words, but that's where we were sort of going from. I guess, little things that teachers potentially in his classroom could have done, from telling him more about palm oil, suggesting doing a palm oil audit, all of these things that could have actually helped him to have felt like he was making a difference. So Earth Cubs was created to bring all the global goals to life with, as you can see here, very silly, crazy characters. We've got Giza Rat, the Word Jaguar, Wilfred the Walrus, Wayne the Worm, and interspersing what we do with real life footage as well. We have got an amazing footprint. We are in over 140 countries, over 10,000 schools are using us to really a bit of a pick and mix way of bringing lots of different topics within the classroom. So we have everything from bookazines, which cover things like Sun-Powered School. So really nice way to bring literacy into the classroom, but also with the characters as well. We also have lots of podcasts that can be listened to, and lesson plans and learning resources, again, all sort of linked back to each of the global goals. So really easy to bring that into the classroom. Our sweet spot from ages is sort of 3 to 7, because I'll show you one of our videos, start up one of our videos in a minute, and it really fits with that age bracket. But we can go up to sort of 7 to 11 as well. And here is a little example of one of our videos and our content.
Bounce, bounce, bounce. It's a tennis ball party. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Round and fun and smarty.
Tennis balls are loads of fun for you and me and everyone.
Sport is great, it makes you move, jump and run, and find your groove.
I won't play the whole thing, but as you can imagine, a lot of these are massive earworms. And in fact, I go to bed most nights singing things like "Let's All Get the Train." They are really great to bring into classrooms because they are really easy for children to understand. They're really fun for them to bop along to, but also bringing those key environmental topics in a really easy to understand way for children. We're also available across YouTube as well. And most importantly than all, for teachers, our content is completely free to access and to use and to bring within your classrooms. I think that's probably our resources bit. And I think passing over to Ed is my next amazing thing to be able to do, because Ed will be able to actually speak to you about some of the real practical elements of being able to bring that into your classroom. There you go.
Cool. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Pleasure.
Cool. Hello, everybody. So my name's Ed Moore, also known as EcoEd, and I'm going to talk to you briefly about how you can incorporate loads of practical environmental ideas within your curriculum, within all your subject areas. And so it's not an added extra, it's not a bolt-on, it's just part and parcel of your everyday teaching. Next slide, please. So a real simple task plan you can start off with is to do inquiry-based learning. Have a question. What is it worth saving the natural wonders of the world? How can we keep our oceans looking amazing? How can we make sure that biodiversity is thriving in our communities? And then take the learning from there, see where it goes, see where the children take it. But this, then the question is the baseline of it can then be threaded through all your subject areas, from literacy to maths, to many environmental topics too, which relate then to your eco schools flag, or which will then incorporate Earth Cubs as well, and other like Let's Go Zero, meet your objectives and help you with your climate action plans. And you're not doing anything extra. It's just part and parcel of what you're doing in your classroom. Next slide, please. So a good example is looking at waste, for example. Here in my class here, looking at waste. They're doing lots of litter picks. They're data collecting. They're data handling. They use the data then to put into graphs. They then wrote letters to the council, to the community, about all the litter that they found and what could be done to reduce that. And it just followed in with their learning. That was like literacy, that was maths, that was a bit of DT, bit of science, bit of geography, all incorporated under this one environmental topic. Next slide, please. And then they took it further. So they wanted to do they wanted to look at the hierarchy, the 8 R's, and they came up with their own sort of R's, and they showcased that across the community with the graphic on the left. They put an assembly together, and they showcased what could be how each R could be used in school, but also at home. Next slide, please. And so lots of flip-flops were found, and we joined up with the Jane Goodall Roots and Shoots program, and they made an art mosaic art portrait of Jane Goodall, which was auctioned off, which raised money for a local charity of homelessness families, and that's where the money went to. Next slide, please. And also a repair cafe, repair shop. Some girls there, Olivia and Sky, they started their own little sewing club. They made these wonderful pencil cases here. They even went out and bought their own sewing machines, and there was a bit of a fix-it sort of thing going on in my classroom. And we did lots of work with team repair. where they give you things that are broken. You follow the lesson plans, and children actually learn how to fix things from a young age, which then they can use those skills later on in life. And all the items that Team Repair get are from electrical companies where the items are already broken, and they find out ways to fix them, and then put together an educational program for children to then have a go themselves. Next slide. You can use nature. Nature is always a great place to look at, getting outside. And here, my class, they're making their own paints. They're exploring what is the best flowers, what are the best flowers to extract the best colours from. And then they also looked into how they can make that thicker. What can they use to make thicker paint? But yeah, another great way, getting children outside. Next slide. And also then using that as well to make your own tie-dye, and reusing T-shirts, reusing sheets that you have at home, for children to use, make their own tie-dye. Next slide, please. And then the garden. I love the garden. Gardening is where my journey started, and getting children outside, growing their own produce, growing through the seasons, growing vegetables and fruits from different countries, making your own cookbook. The garden is endless. You can grow your own potatoes. I know a company Grow Your Own Potatoes. You can get free potatoes from them, and they have a little competition of like who can have the biggest potato, the smallest potato, the unusual potato. And there are like competitions you can enter. But yeah, I think the garden's like endless fun. Next slide, please. And then you can use the garden in your maths, weighing. I take my class down to the local farmers market and the local town market, and I get them to sell what they've grown in the garden to members of the public. And it's an actual real life scenario where they're actually using they're using their weighing skills, their money skills, their communication, teamwork. It's a real life situation. This is a state school. This is all in a state school. I need to emphasize this. This is all in a state school. It's not a private school. It's not an independent school. It's all in a state school. Let's go. And a great community project that I did last year, all based around the Secret Sky Garden. Great book. Books are great to incorporate within your teaching. And basically, Funny is a character. She loved a deserted car park, and she turned it into a beautiful wildflower meadow. And that's what my class wanted to do. So we found a plot of land in the town, this little bare pit land here on the top left, and we went out and we collected seeds. We collected wildflower seeds from wildflowers and sprinkled them on, and then it turned in down here to this beautiful meadow. And then the next year, we made a information board for the community, and they became the experts. They did tour guides for people around the community, and with people in the community giving a donation, which then money went back into the school. Next slide. And finally, I have a book coming out, 100 Ideas for Primary Teachers, Greener School. It's been supported by the Department for Education. Eco Schools have endorsed it, along with Let's Go Zero. It has a foreword by Dr. Jane Goodall, a hero of mine, and all these lovely people here on the right hand side, from Maya Rose Craig to Lord Jim Knight to Will McCullum and to Amy and Ella Meek. They've written some fabulous reviews in the book, which does feature Earth Cubs as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ed. That sounds really cool. I love the idea of the potato competition. I think I might get involved in that. Brilliant. So thank you to both Michelle and Ed for showcasing how you can make sustainability fun, and hopefully you will feel inspired to create engaging and impactful lesson plans and highlight the importance of climate action in your schools. So moving on to the next part of the presentation, and the next slide, please, Natalia. Thank you. So just a brief introduction to me. I'm Harriet Hodgson Grove. I'm an audit partner and head of sustainable business services at UHY. And today I'll be sharing a little bit about why Academy Trust should prepare climate action plans, how this aligns with the Department for Education strategy, and how UHY can support you with this. Next slide, please. So Academy Trusts are responsible for large estates, often with ageing infrastructure and high energy use. So climate change poses a strategic risks in several ways to academies, which is why climate action plans matter. There's operational disruption, so extreme weather events like the heat waves we're starting to see more and more often, flooding, things like this can close schools, damage buildings, and interrupt learning. Then we've got things like financial risks, so rising energy costs, which we've all been getting used to, I guess, future carbon taxes, which could put a strain on financial budgets. There's compliance risks with increasing regulatory expectations. This means that trusts must prepare for mandatory sustainability reporting in the future. Then finally, we've got reputational risks. So stakeholders expect sort of climate action, especially students and parents are starting to get more involved and more impassioned about it. And the climate action plans help your trusts manage these risks proactively and reduce emissions and demonstrate leadership in your communities. They also engage students and communities in sustainability, which is increasingly important as part of education, as Ed and Michelle have both spoken about earlier. Next slide, please. So thinking more about regulatory and strategic drivers, so the 2025 Academy Trust Handbook encourages trusts to nominate a sustainability lead and develop a climate action plan. It's not yet a must, but it really won't be long until it will be. This aligns with the Department for Education strategy to reach net zero by 2050 and improve climate resilience and embed sustainability into the curriculum. You're probably here today because you've either been nominated as a sustainability lead in your trust or you're interested in becoming one. This is another key requirement of the DfE strategies that all education settings should have a sustainability lead in place by 2025 now. So that's one thing to note. Next slide, please. So what actually is a climate action plan? It's a strategic roadmap to reduce your trust's environmental impact. At the core of it is your carbon footprint. This is the total amount of greenhouse gases that your trust emits, measured in carbon dioxide equivalents. A carbon dioxide equivalent is simply a way to measure all greenhouse gases by using the same unit. So think of it like converting different currencies into pounds. While carbon dioxide is the most common greenhouse gas, trusts may also produce others like methane from food waste and landscaping, nitrous oxide from fertilizer or transport, and refrigerant gases from air conditioning units or fridges. So the problem is that these gases have different warming effects. So for example, methane traps 25 times more heat than CO2 over 100 years. So 1 ton of methane is equal to 25 tons of a CO2 equivalent. So by converting everything into CO2e, you get a clear number that represents your trust's total climate impact. Instead of trying to juggle multiple different figures, you can say our trust produces 500 tons of CO2e annually, which makes it easier to do things like set reduction targets, track your progress year on year, compare your performance with other trusts, and report to stakeholders. So think of it as your trust sort of climate score, and the lower the CO2e number, the better your environmental performance. So these carbon dioxide equivalents, this is the only techie bit, it gets easier from here onwards. But these carbon dioxide equivalents are then categorized into 3 different categories. So you have your scope 1 emissions, which are your direct emissions from things like gas boilers or school-owned vehicles. Your scope 2 emissions, which are your indirect emissions from things like purchased electricity, and then your scope 3 emissions, which are your other indirect emissions, which the trust have much less control over, things like staff travel, procurement, and waste. So it's optional as to whether you report these Scope 3 emissions, and it really depends on how material they are to your trust. Once you've measured your carbon footprint, sorry, I'm still on the climate action page, there's quite a lot to say about that. So once you've measured your carbon footprint, you can then set a reduction target. So for example, aiming to cut emissions by 30% over 5 years. To ensure that your trust is setting meaningful targets, they really should be SMART. So they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Your plan will also include your actions to achieve those reductions, like upgrading heating systems, improving insulation, or switching to renewable energy. So on this slide now, so aligning with the DfE strategy and how this aligns. So the DfE provide a template and guidance to help trusts align this with national goals. You'll need to report your Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions of material, as we talked about on the previous slide. And these plans should really integrate with estate management and support climate education. Next slide, please. So how can UHY help? At UHY, our Sustainable Businesses Services team can help you measure your carbon footprint. They can help you with developing your climate action plan and support you with determining your net zero strategy. We also offer ESG reporting, SECR reporting help, and compliance support to help you and your trust on your sustainability journey. And then moving on to the final slide, please. Thank you. So in terms of next steps for your trust, so you should think about designating a dedicated sustainability lead. So whether that be a senior leader, facilities manager, or just a passionate member of staff with an authority to drive change, this person will coordinate efforts across the schools, manage DfE reporting requirements, and champion your sustainability agenda. So you need to ensure they have appropriate training and allocated time to fulfill this role effectively. You should also start thinking about completing your baseline carbon footprint assessment. So conduct a comprehensive assessment of your current carbon emissions across all sites. Like start collecting things like the last 12 months of utility bills, vehicle usage data, operational information covering energy consumption, transportation, waste, and water usage. And this baseline then becomes your reference point for setting realistic reduction targets and measuring future progress. You should also then start beginning by drafting your plan. The Department for Education's template provides a structured framework, ensuring you address all required elements. It guides you through setting measurable targets, identifying actions, establishing timelines, and defining success metrics. So populate it with your baseline data and then start to prioritize improvement areas based on your trust circumstances and building characteristics. You should really be engaging governors, staff, and students as early as possible. Success really requires community-wide commitment. Secure governor buy-in and resources, involve staff through training and working groups, and engage students as sustainability champions. Students often really drive the most innovative ideas and initiatives. So thinking about things like energy monitoring to waste reduction, they're really creative, and we should really buy into those ideas. And consider establishing green committees and eco clubs to maintain that momentum. And lastly, do speak to the UHY Sustainable Business Services team to see how we can help support you with this. One final point from me just before we sort of wrap up is remember that sustainability is not just about compliance, it's a real opportunity to reduce operating costs, enhance your educational offering, demonstrate leadership in preparing students for a sustainable future, and really making it interesting for students on the ground and day to day. So take your first steps by identifying your sustainability lead, beginning the conversation across your trust, and calculating your baseline for your climate action plan. So that's kind of everything we wanted to cover today. We have a few minutes left for any questions in the chat, or if there's any final points you'd like to make, Ed or Michelle.
All good my end.
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
Is there any questions in the chat, Leah?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. well, we'll maybe give you 5 minutes back of your time. I know everyone's really busy. You've got 5 minutes to think about your climate action plan. But yeah, thank you for joining today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.